exactly what Mr. Wilder asked us to do. Just because there are other folks out there that have the same opinion, other business owners out there that have the same opinion. You're looking at a situation where you've got somebody that's affecting policy, setting policy for everyone else, and not taking it upon themselves to be responsible. That's the question that we have. We just want you to abide by the same rules that everybody else has to abide by.
Agreed.
Okay? And it's not, I've never come to this podium and said I was representing, because we got a spokesman for the Board of Ethics. We just want everybody to have the same due process. Mm-hmm. And when comments are made that are put to print, that happens to be friendly most of the time, there is some concern about some name calling that takes place when you call someone. Obviously, it's a contributor to the community, and it's got a national, international base as far as customer base that wants to be involved. And that's the problem, is that when you have this kind of thing going on, it's hard to get good people involved because they don't like what takes place. So the Barney Fife moment is not professional, not from what we expect as our representatives. That's my point. Just conduct yourself in a professional manner and abide by all the other regulations that we have to abide by. That's what we ask. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, any other citizen comments? Yes, come forth and identify yourself. And
my name is Nathan Brown, and I just wanted to take a moment to actually address the commission and give a few words of thanks. If I can, kind of buck the prevailing trend of Christmas impeaching sooner and sooner into the calendar, just to linger on Thanksgiving a moment more. I know you guys hear a lot of, especially as of late, it seems like a lot of negative, get a lot of flack. I just want to give a few words of thanks for things that you've done for me personally. So the first thing is to thank you all for the work that you did and the part that you played in completing the bike trail and the pedestrian trail as well that goes from Fair Oaks to Riverview Park. It means a lot to me because in case any of you are not aware, while I was cycling home from work in my office in Fair Oaks on Wilkinson Boulevard on September 26th, I was struck by a vehicle and broke some bones, got a nice custom fit brace as a result. And since then I've had the opportunity, if I allow myself to, if I freely kind of contemplate all the what ifs and the variables that that were in play that day that could have altered my fate. And when I think about some of the alternate endings, if you will, both better and many of them worse, can literally make myself sick thinking about those. So I generally don't do that and just try again to be thankful. But one thing that is for certain is, had that bike path been completed on September 26th, I would not have been biking on Wilkinson and I would not have been hit. And I don't say this in any way to lay blame at anybody's feet, the commission or anybody else involved, because I know a lot of hard people worked on this tirelessly for years, and there was a lot of hang-ups which I can't even speak to the details of. And that is in no way to guilt or to lay blame, but just to say that I think all too often a lot of issues get couched in terms that are very, especially the biking kind of issue gets couched in very like aesthetic and romantic terms, or sometimes issues get very impersonal, cut and dry budget, which I realize is the job of the commission. But I just want to say thank you, because this is something that will make a direct and immediate and vital impact and meaningful impact in my life, and I think other lives too. So I just want to thank you for that. And secondly, under the assumption that the pay-as-you-throw fee does get passed, I want to thank you for reducing my garbage fee, because and I'd like to say that I'd be up here thanking you for that anyway, even if I wasn't one of the 97% of people in the city who will see that fee, see my garbage fee reduced. I'd like to say I wasn't, because that I'd be up here even if I wasn't in that majority, because it's the right decision. I mean, anything else would be unfair and would be a regressive policy. This is something that aligns private interests of citizens, saving money, with the public interest of the city of increasing recycling, decreasing trash, in other words, saving money. So anytime you can align, provide incentives that align the interests of private and public, I just think that's good public policy, like plain and simple. So thanks in advance for that. And just thank you in general.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any comments, anybody? Okay, thank you very much.
Bet you're doing better.
Yeah, I'm doing much better. Getting there. Thank you.
Glad you're on your feet.
Okay.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
All right, any other citizen comment? Okay, come forward. And then here, okay? Here and then here.
My name is Hugh Hudson. I live at 219 Eastover Drive here in the city. I attended the meeting before the last meeting, if I'm thinking correctly. It was the one where we were having debate over the garbage system, the garbage collection. And I was hearing the commissioners speak and Mayor Graham speak about the finances, and I want to address some of that. Mayor Graham, you said as to the question of available funding for the garbage, it was something, the question was something, is there available funding? And you were discounting the available funding, as I understand it, where is there enough money to pay for
Pay for
this?
your throw?
Pay for the,
I believe the night that you were here, I made the statement that when we first started about the pay as you throw, it was my understanding that pay as you throw was going to pay for the entire cost of garbage collection.
okay,
Which this year runs out to be about $1.6 million. And then with the city, because we have the $5 a month fee, that supposedly is going to bring in $600,000 a year.
right,
It has brought in about $550,000, and Mr. Dawson, you correct me if I misspeak. All right, and so, but when we started this effort to pay for as you throw, it became apparent, apparently, that pay as you throw was not going to pay for the entire cost of it. And so, in one of the meetings that we had, that was out at the Extension Service, I believe, as I recall, when we started talking about the number of households and the cost,
all right,
I believe the statement was made by someone on the commission, I don't remember who, we said, well, we can make it revenue neutral. Well, revenue neutral, in my terminology, would be revenue neutral. It's going to pay for the entire thing, but the revenue neutral, as it was mentioned at that time, I believe was bringing in at least $600,000, as much as the present system has it.
okay,
And I was saying, and then at that time, out of the 10,600 households or what have you, 10,005 or whatever it happens to be, the commissions made an estimate as to how many would take the small, how many would take the medium, and how many would take the large. So as they discussed, as this discussion was there, at first, everybody's going to pay something.
okay,
And then, but then the discussion went on, if they just take the small one, they won't have to pay for anything. And it'll entice people to take the small one and get more recycling. And so, guess, assumptions. They said 25% would take the small one, 50% would take the medium, and 25 would take the more costly, which would be $12 as compared to the medium, $4. And so that evening, as I recall, I'd used their figures.
Right.
And the figures, as they said at that time, which was still just a guesstimate, it's going to bring in $628,000 at that time.
Okay.
Well, and the president brings in $550. So I said for $78,000, that was the difference with that, but that was all a guess. All right, then we have, but I was saying on top of that, we had a budget amendment since we passed the June budget, that $200,000 a year for 5 years was going to be paid cost for paying for the rollout cartons. And then with additional information we've gotten, I think it's according to the worksheets, is that we may estimate now that it'll only bring in something like $300 and some thousand a year.
Okay.
So I was concerned, I was stating my concern there.
I guess, my question to you and to the commissioners is, and I want to comment after the question.
Yeah.
Is there enough money to do the project? And if there's not enough money to do the project, no one needs to do it. None. And whatever you think, the proponents of this project, if you can't fund it, it doesn't need to be done. No. I mean, and I guess I would say, if there's not money there, what part of no do you not understand?
I
And
believe I can answer your question. There's enough cash on hand to pay the full cost of the project right here. I mean, today even.
Okay. What fund?
But, I mean, in the general fund.
It's in the general fund?
Yes, sir. I mean, that's what.
Is it?
I mean, some people like to claim that the city has this fictional reserve fund. There's no such thing. The reserve fund is just unbudgeted money in the general fund.
Can I ask a question
Sure.
to Steve Dawson? Steve, is there, how's that work?
Mr. Dawson, you want to come answering your
Just
question?
really, how does it work? Because if we got fund accounting, you just can't, you've got to honor the intent of the fund. Isn't that right?
Well, I think what Commissioner's referring to is we got cash on hand to pay for to pay for the project. We do have cash, we do have, excess cash.
Mr. Dawson,
That's all.
they can't hear me. Would you
Okay.
come on, take
Go
that?
ahead. I think what Commissioner Wilder is referring to is enough cash in the general fund to pay for the project, which we do have money that we've set aside
Okay.
for future projects or for future equipment expenses.
Okay.
We've got a safety net there
Okay.
available, for those type of issues.
And it's adequate.
Well, it depends on how you define adequate,
Okay.
It depends on how you define adequate, but we do have a safety net.
Okay. Because I was,
Could I ask a question too?
I was hearing one
I mean,
thing.
this savings net you were talking about, is that referring to the reserve fund?
Yeah, I think the cash balance that we have on hand in the reserve fund equates pretty closely. But yeah, we've got a safety net, of nine and a half plus, so.
Okay, all right, then.
But here's the thing that we're faced with in the future. Now I'm just going to say,
Yeah,
I'm going to
please
tell you,
do.
I'm gonna say, in the future, what we're facing, we haven't bought any equipment.
Yeah.
Basically for about 3 years. And it's, everybody knows it because when you do the budget, if you compare the budget, for the last 3 years versus the budget, the previous 4 before that, we had a $2.1 million budget, capital budget, for equipment. The last 3 years, we've had a $0.6 million budget. So we've reduced our operating budget by $1.5 million for equipment purchases. If I look back at my equipment, age of my equipment, my vehicles are like 6 years old. Average is the average vehicle, life on or the age of my vehicles right now. So I can't say for sure that we're not going to have a fire truck go down. If we have a fire truck go down, you're looking at $500,000 plus if a fire truck goes down. For example, and the managers could tell you this as well. I mean, these aren't my numbers. They generate the numbers. But for example, last year we purchased. Mark, I don't want to put you on the spot. We purchased about 6 police vehicles. And we purchased it out of the drug fund last year, didn't we? So we haven't, for the last several years, we haven't bought any vehicles for the police department out of the general fund. So, we've got adequate, funding, but we've also got to consider that some of these vehicles are going to start. We're going to have to replace some of these vehicles. So that's what you're asking.
And that's really what I want to know. Because see, when I heard you speak, Mayor Graham, and then I heard Commissioner Wilder speak, there was like a divergence, and I'm not happy with that divergence.
In all honesty, there is a divergence. We don't see that. We don't see eye to eye on that.
Well, I know you do, and I stand with you and
Yes.
and Mr. May.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other citizen comments? Come on, please come forward.
Yes, my name is J.C. Wilson. Myself and my wife Linda Alders Wilson live at 200 Bellwood Court. And my concern basically is the reality of this garbage, proposed garbage ordinance, and driving around in our area today, even taking some pictures, which we have. The reality of the amount of garbage on the streets, I cannot see how this is going to be incorporated, all this garbage, into this new program, how it's going to work with the containers, the bags, and all this. My question to you is, do you have some plans to work this, the reality of this program as it goes along? It may not work, and there may have to be some changes made in the way that it's done. The way it's presently written up, with the bags, and so basically my question, that's one of my questions, and I'll ask you that one first. Do you have plans to?
Would you like to ask both of them and then have us reply to them?
Right.
Okay.
My other question is, do you have any plans to make arrangements for those who might not have transportation to come down here and obtain appropriate bags to put garbage in? And that's, and another question is, that arises from this whole thing, do you have plans to enforce people from perhaps getting rid of the garbage just to get it off their hands without putting it in the appropriate containers and so forth? So
Okay.
that's my
All right,
question.
now, just help me. I have a little hearing loss every once in a while.
Okay.
Now, your first question was what?
Do you have plans to work this out as it goes? It may not work out exactly the way it's written
All right,
to begin with. That's my first question. And then my second question is, do you have plans to work with senior citizens in obtaining things, bags, whatever is necessary? But they may not have transportation. And then my third question is, do you have plans to, for enforcement?
okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Now, since I'm going to allow, ask either Commissioner Hidden or Commissioner Wilder, someone who put this together to answer your question. I do not know the answer to your question. Commissioner Hidden.
To the question of, excuse me, I'm not feeling the best. I have some allergies, so if I'm squinting, it's not because I can't see, it's that my sinus pressure is a lot. To the question that it may not work, we do understand that there are some topographical issues. There's some places that, in order for the system, initially, I guess the plans to go fully automated, we know that we can't fully go automated in every neighborhood, that there's streets, there are cars park on them. Some of them have lower lines, power lines, and that some people aren't going to use the cans because we are looking at some people who may be injured physically that they can't carry out a can, or the elderly that they're typically used to just carrying out a bag because they don't want the cans, that we will supply that many number of bags to the number of cart that you've signed up for. So if you're signing up for the free can, we'll supply that many number of bags to your residents. And if you need more bags, they will be sold at the local stores. I think Kroger and both Walmart have signed up.
I don't know.
I think that's what Jeff said. And we are going to have an enforcement officer. We have budgeted for that to be a new employee. That'll be their job.
Okay. And do you have plans to keep studying this situation as it goes along? There may have to be some tweaks along the way. This is what another one of my questions, you know. Do you have plans to do that, or is it just written in stone?
I'm sure like with everything, there are things that'll come up that'll need to be tweaked. I mean, when you build a house, you have initial
Right.
plans that this is the way you want it, but unfortunately, you're building on a piece of property that floods, you know?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to redo the foundation. So I'm sure that there's things we're gonna have to look at
Okay.
once it comes into play, and
Okay.
we'll all get looked at and tweaked as needed.
I'll just echo that if I can. I mean, I don't think many city laws are set in stone. This isn't even a new ordinance. This is an amendment of existing ordinances. And so I think obviously the commission needs to keep an eye on this and see what works and what doesn't, and make any adjustments that may be necessary.
All right. All right. And like I say, we were concerned about people not putting garbage where it shouldn't be. That would be something that I'm sure that you guys and people would be concerned about. Okay.
Would you please, I've asked the clerk, she would repeat your name so she can get it on the record. Your name,
J.C. Wilson.
you get that?
My wife, Linda Aldridge Wilson, and I live at 200 Bellwood Court.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other citizen comments? Okay, then we'll move on to the ordinances. Mr. Moore.
Ordinance 4.1, by title, an ordinance amending section 37.10, health, dental, life insurance, and deferred compensation of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances. Summary, this ordinance allows contributions into a health reimbursement account for employees or elected officials waiving city health plan coverage.
Okay, do we have a motion for approval of ordinance 4.1?
I'll motion for it.
Okay, Commissioner Hadden got a second for Commissioner May. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Wilder, Commissioner Hadden,
Yes?
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Mayor Graham.
Yes, so ordinance 4.1 is adopted. All right, Mr. Moore.
4.2, by title, an ordinance to amend the City of Frankfurt's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 152, by amending the City of Frankfurt zoning regulations, Article 9, flood damage prevention ordinance, Section 9.4.2, duties and responsibilities of the local administrator, and Section 9.7, definitions of the City of Frankfurt zoning ordinance. Summary, this ordinance amends the city zoning ordinance, Article 9, flood damage prevention ordinance, Section 9.4.2, duties and responsibilities of the local administrator, and Section 9.7, definitions of the City of Frankfurt zoning ordinance as requested by the Division of Water.
Okay, do we have a motion? Commissioner May has the motion for approval. Mr.
second
Henn
it.
has a second in discussion. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Wilder, Commissioner Hadden,
Yes?
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Mayor Graham.
Yes, so ordinance point 2 is adopted. Mr. Moore.
Ordinance 4.3, first reading by title, an ordinance amending ordinance number 15, 2011 series, appropriating the revenue to be received by the City of Frankfurt for the fiscal year 2011-12. Summary, this ordinance amends the City of Frankfurt budget for fiscal year 2011 to 2012 to include the purchase of a new dump truck snowplow for the street department. The net cost to the city after insurance proceeds is $44,185.
Okay, without objection, we will accept the first reading for ordinance 4.3.
Ordinance 4.4, first reading. This is an ordinance amending Frankfurt Code of Ordinances, Chapter 52, Section 52.04, Paragraph A1 and Paragraph A8, charges be it obtained by the City of Frankfurt, Kentucky. Frankfurt Code of Ordinances, Section 52.04, Paragraph A1 and Paragraph A8 is hereby amended to read, that's title, and then summary is, this ordinance deletes the scheduled January 1, 2012 rate increase of 15% in Section 52.04A1, sets forth rate increases of 7.5% in the per month sewer charge on January 1, 2014 and January 1, 2016, and corrects a typographical error in Section 52.04A8.
Okay, without objection, we will accept the reading of ordinance 4.4.
First reading ordinance 4.5 by title, an ordinance to amend the City of Frankfurt's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 150.05 by amending the City of Frankfurt's Property Maintenance Code, Section 301, subsections 106.2, 106.2.2, 106.6, 107.1, 107.2, 107.2.1, 107.7, 108.2, 108.4, 108.5, 108.6, 109.1, 109.2, 109.3, 110.1, 110.6, 110.7, and adding sections 109.1, 110.1.1 through 110.1.3. Summary, this ordinance amends the city's property maintenance code by amending the notice, procedures, and method of service, the process and standards of boarding, securing vacant structure, the process of emergency measures, the standards and process for demolitions, as well as those cited within the historic districts, and to clarify the appeal process and options.
Okay, without objection, we have first reading. You have comments to make?
Just a comment.
Yes.
It does regard to the nuisance board. Do we have